Hey, I want to thank you for joining Real Talk Sports. My name is Christopher Patrick, and my best friend and co-host, Anthony Winecoop. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right, sir. How's everybody doing?
Everybody's doing all right, man. I'm hearing you're having back problems. You getting old on me, man?
I think so.
I hear you. Well, let's not get too old, because we got to talk about rookies.
All right.
And when we talk about rookies, it makes you feel even older.
Yeah.
Some young guys. So I definitely want to get to the Rookie of the Year choices for me. I think this has been a really strong rookie class. A lot of people predicted it not to be so strong, but I think these rookies have definitely shown out and proven us wrong. So let's get to the top. I want to list off the scoring leaders and rookies with Anthony Towns being at 18 points, Okafor being at 17, Porzingis being at 14, Russell being at 13, Booker being at 12, and Moutier being at 12. Who in that list do you think's earned Rookie of the Year or definitely need to be mentioned in that talk?
For me, I think it's Porzingis because he started the year hot and then he's kind of cooled down, but he's still staying right where the New York Knicks need him as like their second scorer. But definitely Karl-Anthony Towns has also kind of come on and, he's really been busting his butt, helping out the T-Wolves stay, afloat, even though they're still kind of having a down year. But at least they're, in talks as a team that's going to be hot next year. And I really like Moutier. He's definitely taken that Denver Nugget team by the Bulls. He's definitely shown that them trading Ty Lawson away and, putting their faith into him has been a really good and strong pick. But if I had to pick, I think I'd take Porzingis to be Rookie of the Year this year.
Yeah, I definitely like that pick. I don't have any problems with that. I mean, with the way New York treated him coming into this season, he proven a lot of people wrong. I was watching the Chicago game last night where Porzingis dropped 29, dunked on Paul Gasol like it was nobody's business, and there's a bunch of fans in the stadium with his shirt on, and you're thinking like, whoa, where are these fans draft night? Where are these people's draft night? So I definitely think because of the hype that he wasn't given, he deserves it. But I mean, Towns has definitely earned. I mean, he's 18 and 10 for a rookie. There's no other rookie averaging a double-double in the league. He's the only rookie averaging a double-double. Minnesota's a good team. The problem with Minnesota is they have a lot of pieces that they need to get rid of. They need, definitely cut some loose weight. I mean, are you going to go with Zach LaVine as your starter? Are you going to stick with Rubio? I mean, you got a lot of trade assets.
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously the number one scoring option is Andrew Wiggins. They need to keep focusing on him, but getting a Karl-Anthony Towns this year was a big improvement. It helps, and like I say, he's showing out with his sudden scoring increase over the year. Obviously, learning the game, hitting that rookie wall. Now he's showing like he could be a big, big guy for him. So it's definitely they're a couple of veteran pieces away, but with the Zach LaVine, Wiggins, Karl-Anthony Towns. They got a three-headed young monster right there, so it's a good look.
Yeah, and definitely a lot of trade assets, with Pepovic. You could definitely give him, on the block and see what you can get for him. I mean, like I said, do you go forward with Rubio? Is he your future? A lot of people say yeah. Me personally, I say nah. I mean, he's a good player, but he's too inconsistent, too injury-prone. I think it's time to part ways with him. Okafor would definitely be on my list as a Rookie of the Year if he didn't go down with that injury and only playing 56 games this season.
Well, I think Philadelphia missed, they got a good hit with Jahlil Okafor. It's just now, what did he do? Like, is it him or is it Joel Embiid? Like, that's another thing they got to come to terms with. And on top of that, Nerlens Noel also. But I think Jahlil Okafor definitely, before the injury hit him, he was definitely showing signs. He was one of the bright spots Philadelphia had going through. But, yeah, losing him to pretty much the rest of the season is hurting the team big time.
Well, I think, you could put Okafor at the power forward. So I think his position is more safe because you know what you can get from him. I think it's going to come down to who do you keep, Embiid or do you keep Noels? I mean, you got right there. I mean, it's that saying, the world's not big enough for the two of us.
Yeah.
Kind of thing in Philadelphia. I think they're too talented. And not to mention, we really haven't seen enough out of Joe Embiid, if he's even going to pan out, or if he's like another pretty much Greg Odom or Andrew Bynum. We don't know what we're going to get out of Joe Embiid, so I think he will want to play out his rookie contract to show that he can deserve a decent contract elsewhere. Yeah. But, I mean, Noels, you know what you're getting from him. Yeah. And he's a nice player. He's special.
Oh, he's definitely an energy guy.
And let's go, talk a little bit about Russell and Booker and Moutier. Booker averaging 12.7 points a game. I mean, he's just a good guy trapped on the wasteland right now, and Phoenix is that wasteland. They are just terrible to watch. I don't even, when I see them on the TV screen, I would rather watch Desperate Housewives. They're just terrible. I don't think that Booker will make that team better. I think he's having a good year. But, I mean, with how bad that team is, he should be averaging 18 points, 19 points a game.
I think his problem is the fact that they are a terrible team, but also Brandon Knight. I mean, Brandon Knight's kind of, trying to get his points because with the loss of Eric Bledsoe, that hurts. But, I mean, I think Devin Booker, for what he's doing as a rookie, it's okay. But, yeah, he definitely should be averaging a little bit more. I mean, you would think they'd give him more shots. But, I mean, he is a two guard, so he's got to wait for Brandon Knight to determine, whether the play is going to be ran through him or not. As far as, like, D'Angelo Russell and Moutier, like I said, I mean, Moutier is showing that, Denver really got a good hit. And D'Angelo Russell, man, he started off super duper slow, but now he's starting to pick his game up, looking like he was worth that high pick that the Lakers took him at. So, I mean, the sky's the limit, but I think they probably still should have just waited and maybe got, like, Okafor or something, because you still got Clarkson.
Yeah, I didn't like the whole move with Russell at number 2 in the draft when you had Clarkson. At the time, you had Henry. Mm-hmm. You end up giving him up anyways. But, I mean, you had, capable point guards that can run an offense. And, even right now, I mean, Clarkson is still your leading scorer. He's still doing his thing. Nothing has changed. So, I mean, granted, once again, I mean, there's another, LA Lakers, I don't want to call them a wasteland like I did Phoenix, because LA can one season be bad and then next season turn it all the way around by picking up some players, because they have that kind of prestige, for the
kind of money.
And they got that kind of money. I mean, it's LA. So, I mean, who doesn't want to play in LA? And with Kobe leaving, I think that's going to open up room for a star to want to come in and take his place, because then they don't have to deal with Kobe and they could be fully their team. Mm-hmm. So I think that works out. Plus, Jim Buss is going to give up the team to his sister. Mm. That's going to definitely, open up some room for, I think, Magic to come in and do some more player mentoring and scouting. But Russell, I mean, he could have, if LA would have passed on him, there's no doubt in my mind that Russell would have slipped to a lottery pick somewhere else. I mean, he wasn't worth a top 10 pick. That was a bad move. Moutier, I like Moutier. Like I said, we didn't see much of him in China. Mm-hmm. He was injured. But, I mean, he is starting to step it up. I mean, when you had Ty Lawson's and Jameer Nelson, on your team, it was hard to see where he was going to fit in. They got rid of Ty Lawson, which was fine, and it's proven to work out. So I have no problems with it. I mean, I have more problems with the big man situation than I do with the guards in Denver at this point.
Yeah.
So, Your thoughts?
I mean, the big man thing down in Denver, it's cluttered because you got Gallo, you got Nurkic, you got Josevic. I mean, they got a lot of young big guys. It's just you got to pick a two, and you even got Fareed. I mean, there's a lot of big guys. They got him stepping out. So I think Moutier helps that because he can run up and down the floor. He's got that good pace, and he's a big, strong guy. I mean, out of like him and Russell and even Booker, Moutier's the bigger one, stronger guy. He's fearless. And, I mean, we'll just throw what he had last night, a big game winner. I know it's against 76ers, but, I mean, still a half-court shot of a game winner is very big, showing he even got a clutch factor.
Well, yeah, that clutch gene is definitely not something provided at birth, And with Moutier, he reminds me of a better version of Elfin Payton. Mm-hmm. Kind of that size, that taller point guard. I think he's sitting at like 6'5"?
6'5" and about a good 230.
Yeah,
so he's solid.
Yeah, he's definitely got that size. I mean, guy you could build around. I mean, I would like to see more of Moutier and Fareed. A little pick and roll action, a little alley oops. Mm-hmm. But they definitely need to figure that situation out. But that wraps up pretty much our rookie of the year. I mean, so you pretty much have Porzingis. Mm-hmm. I pretty much think Towns being double probably win rookie of the year.
I'll stress Porzingis just because he's in New York, a little bit more hype, a little bit more, media attention. But I mean, yeah, Karl-Anthony Towns very well could get it too off his numbers. So
okay. So next I want to talk about is contenders and pretenders. We're getting to that point where we're 12 games away from the playoffs. I mean, we pretty much already know what it looks like. I mean, other than the 8th, 7th, and 6th in the West, and the 8th spot pretty much in the East are still up for grabs. But pretty much from that top 4 and up, it's pretty locked in. Yeah. There's not much that can be changed. I want to talk about, let's go start with the Warriors. The best team in the league. Are they contenders or pretenders, Coop?
Obviously, they're contenders. They're the champs, the defending champs. They're coming back to try to get their crown for a second time. I mean, what more can you say about that team? Top to bottom, they're better than most. Their bench is basically like a starting 5 elsewhere if they were on other teams. So obviously they're contenders. I mean, they're a very scary team. a team that nobody wants to have to see going in a 7-game series.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, there's not enough that could be said about the Warriors' success this year. I mean, if they beat the Bulls' record, which, they have a legit shot at it, I mean, it just adds on to one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen in basketball. I would like to see Bogut stay healthy, though. That's always a cringe in my teeth, for Bogut. Andre needs to come back. I mean, he will. I mean, that's not the issue. If they can stay healthy throughout the playoffs, I mean, they're the team to beat. No doubt about it. Let's switch over to the East. Cavs, are they contenders or pretenders?
They're a contender, but they're sliding on to pretenders. The simple fact they're a contender because of the way the roster's stacked. LeBron, Kyrie, Kevin Love, JR. We can go on the names. Everybody knows them. They're sliding on the pretender side for me because it seems like they have in-house fighting. It's 1 minute it's Kyrie's mad with LeBron. Another minute it's LeBron's upset with the coaching. So, they're really leaning on if they get beat past the first. If they get past the first round, that's great, but they look like they could easily get beat in that second round. So.
Yeah. I'm still going to go contenders because, I mean, my thought is, you have LeBron James. And that kind of seals the deal almost. It's always, as long as he stays on the East Coast. Now, let's just say LeBron was on the West Coast. I mean, we'd be having a different conversation. But when you're on the East Coast, I mean, you locked it up. I mean, so they are contenders, but they are slowly sliding to that pretender spot. Let's go over back to the West. We got the San Antonio Spurs. Contenders or pretenders?
Contenders just because it's the Spurs. They practically fall into the playoffs regardless. Even if it was at the 8th seed, they'd still be a dangerous team. They're sitting at the 2. They've reloaded. They get Andre Miller. They got Kevin Martin. And then obviously the known ones, Tony, Timmy, Mano. So, yeah, they're obviously contenders. They're going to be fighting for that top spot in a Western Conference Finals spot.
You know what? I'm going to go pretenders with them. Reason why is because throughout the Spurs' history, when they have a really, really solid season, they tend to do really bad in the playoffs. When they have a mediocre season, they seem to light it up for the playoffs. I mean, they're not a team that wins back-to-back championships. They're a team that wins one championship. You don't see them for a couple years. They come back and win another championship. That's been pretty much Tim Duncan's career. Reason why I say pretenders, is because, it depends on that matchup. I mean, Spurs struggled. They have lost, 11 times this year. And those teams that they lost against, it wasn't like, the Warriors playing the Bucks after, a doubleheader or injuries. I mean, they've lost pretty convincingly sometimes, so.
They are an older team, so maybe age does kind of get to them. I just still see them as a contender, man. I think it's the simple fact their experience, the fact that they kind of have a aging team, but at the same point in time, they do have young pieces at the right spot. You got a young Kawhi Leonard, you got an okay LaMarcus Aldridge, and then even for your point guard, you got a Patty Mills. I mean, I think some of that kind of gives them an advantage against some of these other teams that they're going to face in the West. Obviously, the big matchup, if it happens, Golden State and them for that spot at the berth for the finals is going to be huge, but so they're still a contender in my mind.
I understand. Yeah, I think it's going to play on matchup. Reason why I give the Cavs, contenders, and I give Warriors contenders because I don't fear any team they go up against. I feel like they can legitimately win against any team they go up against. I don't feel like the Spurs can win against any team they go up against. If Portland slips to that 7, I think Portland will give them. Especially with that feud between LaMarcus and the whole Portland, nation. I think they would give them trouble. I think if Dallas stays at the 7, I think Dallas can give them trouble. Dallas always gives them. They went to Game 7, remember, last year with Dallas. I mean, so to me, it's more of a matchup with them. But I'm going to stick with pretenders right now. What about the Raptors? Where do you have them falling under?
I got them as pretenders because we've seen this whole win as a team type thing. I think the simple fact, because they're in the East, that's why they're sitting at the 2, but they have Miami chasing them right now. They even got the Celtics chasing them too. So I think they're pretenders. Just because they don't have a killer 1-2 guy, like a one guy. They got a 1-2 combo in DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry, but they need like a Carmelo, a LeBron James. They need a guy that they know that is coming down to that game-winning shot. Team winning thing is great, but it don't work in the playoffs for some reason.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this. I think they're pretenders. I think the Raptors, to me, always have good seasons. They're kind of like the... when Peyton Manning was on the Colts. They just have that good season. You're just so pumped up. And then Kyle Lowry misses a game winner against Brooklyn, in the first round. Kind of disappointing. They don't have nobody on that team that, to me, is a superstar. Rosa, I think, it's time to maybe move on from him. I mean, unfortunately, he lacks in shooting. He's a great dunker, but, I mean, he drives to the hoop like crazy and gets to the foul line, but it's not enough to win games. There used to be a guy that used to do that all the time back in the day. Spaghetti Maggette. Corey Maggette used to get to the foul line all the time with the Clippers. And with Golden State. Remember back in the day? But they didn't win nothing doing that. I mean, it's a boring game to watch. They're pretenders. They'll be lucky if they make it past the second round. I think it's a good season that's going to go to the garbage.
Very much.
OKC, are they contenders or pretenders?
I got them on pretender watch because I think the Russell Westbrook train's going to fall off, and then KD's just going to get mad because some fact he ain't getting enough touches, ain't getting enough look. And they don't even have a third guy. They still got Serge Ibaka not sure about his role. Steven Adams not sure about his role. Even Enes Kanter, it's just a bunch of pretending fellas over there.
Mm-hmm. You know what? I'm with you on that. They're pretenders. They're the pretenders at the highest order.
Mm-hmm.
Their fourth quarter production this year has been terrible. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got two of the, best players in the NBA. I mean, easily top 5. I mean, you could put Kevin Durant number 1 if you wanted to, if you're that big of a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And you got Westbrook that can easily fall in that 5 or 4 spot. And they can't get the job done. They can't coexist. I mean, that third option is just terrible. I mean, you got Cantors, you got, Waiters, you got, Morrill. I mean, you just got weapons from across the board, and they're shooting blanks.
Yeah, well, they're shooting blanks, and then on top of that, nobody wants to establish themselves, whether it's being Billy Donovan not establishing someone or the players themselves not establishing. You literally have 2 guys and then just a bunch of bodies that want to seem like they want to establish, and it's not going to cut in the playoffs.
Seems like the only other person that really hustles on that team that I can respect is Adams.
Yeah, Steven Adams, but yet again,
not a scoring,
not a scoring option. He's a 10-point guy, but playoffs you need at least about a 15 to 20-point guy.
Yeah.
They got one in Serge Ibaka that they don't use enough.
Well, and I don't think he asserts himself enough either, and that's the thing too. I mean, you're giving this guy a lot of money. He is your rim protector. But he also needs to be your scorer. He needs to be your third option. Even if he gave you 14 points a game, I mean, that's not even asking much. It will still help. So we both agree on that. So let's just go down the list before we head to the last one, Miami. So I got Warriors. You got Warriors as contenders. You got Cavs as pretenders. I got Cavs as contenders. You have Spurs as contenders. I have Spurs as pretenders. We both have Raptors as pretenders. OKC, both pretenders. Last but not least, in your team, actually, Miami, where do you have them at?
I have them as contenders because I kind of feel like they're the one team that could easily take care of the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's for some fact that they got this size with Hassan Whiteside. They got a very good pickup in Joe Johnson. I think he's bringing that extra scoring punch that they needed. And I really think Gordon Dragic, if we had that matchup, Gordon Dragic versus Kyrie Irving, I think Gordon could actually take care of business. And the Dwayne Wade and LeBron James matchup is always a big thing. So I got Miami as a definite contender to at least maybe make a run for that Eastern Conference championship.
Yeah, I have them as contenders too. I mean, the record for their series season shows for itself 4-0. I think, Dwayne Wade has gotten into LeBron's head a little bit. I think Miami itself, with the whole you need Pat Riley, has gotten into LeBron. I don't think they want to see them. I think they could overthrow the king. So I like the Miami team. Joe Johnson was a huge pickup. We talked about this all season with Luol Deng not coming through. That where's that third option? I mean, it's more important for most of these teams to have a third option. Yep. I mean, you're going to have your star. You're going to have that other guy, that C.J. McCollum type guy that, comes out of nowhere. But do you have that third guy that either comes off the bench or whatever that's going to lift this team to that next level? And Miami has it. Joe Johnson, Dwayne Wade, Hassan, and if they can get Chris Bosh back, which is still a possibility. That's deadly. That's deadly. So, we're going to go contenders on that one. I want to talk a little bit about the Memphis Grizzlies because they were contenders at the beginning of the season.
Oh, yeah.
They're sitting right now at the 4, which is still respectable.
Yeah.
But, I mean, because Marc Gasol went down so late in the season, I mean, does that change everything?
it changes everything big because now it's on the fact that no Marcus Gasol's there. I believe Conley's kind of out also right now. So, I mean, they're really down 2 big, gigantic stores. They're even down to Mario Chalmers that they got from Miami in a trade. I mean, they let him go after he tore his Achilles. So they're really down to Tony Allen, Lance Stevenson. I mean, they are a team that's really still in the playoffs because of all the work Marc Gasol and the boys did early, but now it's like they're barely hanging on by a thread. I mean, you have a good game against a really good opponent. Forgive me, it's spacing my mind, but I know they just lost to the Lakers a day ago, and it's like you lose to the Laker team that really isn't competing for nothing anyway, so it's like you're really looking bad. And so, I mean, they're really hanging on short thread right now.
I'm telling you right now, I mean, at the 4, you're going to probably be facing the Clippers.
Yeah.
You're first round exit. I mean, I don't even want to call that upset because it's not even really an upset. I mean, it's not to say that the Clippers right now aren't struggling without Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Memphis has got problems. And the thing about it is it's time to go back to the drawing board with it. I mean, I definitely like the grindhouse.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think these players are grinding anymore. You know, Zach Randolph is on his way out. Marc Gasol, I mean, you can still build around Marc Gasol. I mean, it just so happens he got injured. Tony Allen, I mean, I read a report on Bleacher Report that they want, you know, if he could score more. I mean, that you're asking a guy that doesn't score to score more. That is not going to happen. You know, Memphis is they are in the playoffs because of a magical first, you know, half of the season, but they'll be the quickest one out of the playoff.
I will take that matchup though. If it is really the Grizzlies against the Clippers, I'll take the Grizzlies still.
You still take the Grizzlies?
I will take the Grizzlies just for the simple fact if Blake Griffin does come back in time to play that matchup, he don't want no part of Zach Randolph. He don't want no part.
You don't want to get choked out by Zach?
On top of that, I really don't think Memphis would be scared of the Clippers. If it was anybody else but the Clippers, then yeah, they probably gone. But that simple fact, if it's Memphis and the Clippers at that 4-5 matchup, I'm still taking Memphis by a thread.
Well, we'll keep that in mind, and after the first round, we'll come back to that, and we'll see where Memphis stands.
There we go.
All right, so I want to talk about LeBron's legacy. You know, there's been a lot of reports about him trying to build the dream team, the brotherhood, like this is Assassin's Creed or something.
Apparently.
You know, and how this affects his legacy. I mean, he still has the option to opt out.
Yeah.
He still has the option to go to another team. If he leaves Cleveland, he goes to another team. What does that say for his legacy?
It tarnishes it because he done left Cleveland 2 times. It hurts. It's definitely going to hurt his fan base in Cleveland. They'll boo him 100 times worse than they did the first time. And then the simple fact, in everybody's eye, it just looks like he's a team hopper. He's a bandwagon jumper, whichever one you want to use. And then to quote-unquote try to basically build like a 2K team with if he can get Carmelo, if he can get CP3, if he can somehow play with Dwayne Wade all on one team. It's like, are you even really trying to do this by yourself, or do you really have to have somebody to do something? And that's what it looks like. He needs help, and he's like, instead of the help that he already has on Cleveland, he wants more experience and more of his buddies, and it just looks bad.
It does look bad, and quote-unquote Skip Bayless, he looks weak.
Yeah.
He looks weak, and I hate to say this about LeBron. He looks weak at this point. You know, first of all, you're disrespecting your team by going to hang out with Dwayne Wade at halftime when you're getting blown out by Miami.
Yeah.
You know, your team wants to win. I mean, it almost feels like you're throwing games. You know, and I'm not going to say that, you know, so don't quote me on that. Don't say that I'm saying LeBron's throwing games, but I would feel that way if he was on my team and he's conversing with the other team like that.
Well, on top of that, he's been doing a lot more complaining, a lot more nagging, a lot more whining and complaining to the refs. I mean, it's from what I've never seen LeBron do a whole lot of complaining. He does a little bit. I mean, you know, played Miami.
He's been a crybaby this year.
But, I mean, he's been doing a lot of crying, a lot of whining about his own team, a lot about other teams. It's just like, LeBron, maybe you should just sit down and play basketball and stop all this complaining.
Well, and the thing about it, too, though, is like, you know, and we talked about this earlier today, how likely could they get all 4 of those guys on a team? You know, first of all, I mean, by the time, like I said, Carmelo Anthony's on a long contract deal. I mean, you would have to take that big contract.
Yep.
You got LeBron James that if he opts out, he's looking for a max deal. So there's 2 big contracts right there. Mm-hmm. Dwayne Wade is still getting, I mean, he could probably take a pay cut. I mean, he probably would in that particular situation because he's only getting a 1 year, $20 million.
Yeah.
And then Chris Paul is still on a big contract. And that's the thing. There would be only one team in history I think would even take something like that on, would be the LA Lakers.
Yeah.
I could see them doing that, but any other team, there's just no budget room for that. I mean, by the time that they all finish their max contract, they'll be 38. Chris Paul will be pushing over 40. They wouldn't even win championships then.
No,
they don't win championships now. They wouldn't win championships then. It's just not reasonable.
It'd be a bunch of old dudes at the YMCA trying to finally match up and buddy, and you're gonna run into a bunch of young wild horses. I mean, it's not a good look. It's 2K-ish, and I mean, the only realistic way you could do it, I mean, it'd have to be a team that's down with doing a bunch of sign and trade and away some of their young talent, young draft picks, and no team's down to do that. So I don't think he's getting his dream team he wants. Best just build what you have in Cleveland, because honestly, Cleveland is a good team. He just needs to, build them up.
Well, in ESPN, they recently stated that he is the third best player of all time, even without his resume being fully written. If he goes to another team, I mean, he's got to drop. I mean, because then it just looks like you're looking for help. You can't do it on your own. You don't trust in your team to build through the draft. You don't, you're not, and that's the thing though, when you're supposed to be the king, like if you're Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman came to Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Players will come to you. You're being a little bit desperate, and you're going to other players. Yeah. So it's like you're saying that you're not as good as those players you're going to. You pretty much told Dwayne Wade, I'm not good enough over here for you to come when your contract was ended, or Chris Bosh to come to Cleveland when his contract was in Toronto. I mean, I get it's South Beach, but still, I mean, it just doesn't. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I'm gonna get off that subject because I just throw that in the garbage. Let's get to the rematches right now with the Warriors and Spurs. They got 2 more games left on the season against each other. They happen to be the last 3 games of the season. Is that even a matchup even worth watching? I mean, is it gonna tell any story to you?
I think the first one will. The second one won't. I think the first one will, just for the simple fact I have a feeling that Popovich and Kerr will at least, if anything, play maybe half of their starters and maybe half of their bench. That last one, though, I don't think so. We'll see nothing but bench guys. Both teams will probably be resting their guys, getting ready for the playoffs. But I definitely think that the first one will be probably the most intense game. It will kind of feel like a playoff game. So, yeah, that's one rematch that I think is going to be good.
I'm just gonna scratch them both off. Like I said, they're both in Golden State. No, I think one's in Golden State, one's in San Antonio. The last game of the second to last game of the season is in San Antonio. Once again, I think they rest. I think they even rest in Golden State. I don't think Greg Popovich wants to, so close to a playoff, pull out all the stops. I don't think he wants to show off his coaching. What he plans on doing. To them in the playoffs. I think he wants to kind of keep that a secret. You don't want to expose everything yet and give the Warriors time to, figure it out for later on. So I think he kind of, just says, hey, we're secured in the second seed. May not get home court advantage at this point, but who cares? We're looking for the future right now. Future of the playoffs, as you said.
Oh yeah.
So, once again, I don't look forward to those rematches. I look more forward to Golden State probably winning those games and capturing the Bulls record. That's about it, or at least tying it. Because even if they tie it, people don't realize even if they tie it, they still get placed in history.
Oh yeah.
There's no downgrade to that.
No.
I want to move on to the NFL to finish out our last segment here, and I want to talk about RG3 to the Browns. Do you think that's a bust, or do you think that's a good move? And just to let you know, RG3 last season made $16 million on the bench. Going to the Browns for 2 seasons, he will make $15 million with a bonus that can equal up to $22 million. So he actually taking a pay cut.
Yeah, right. I think it's a good move for the fact that the Browns got themselves a quarterback to the point where they don't have to technically draft one now as high. I still think they'll take a quarterback in this draft, but now maybe they can use the number 2 pick on either a lineman, a wide receiver, maybe even a running back, someone to help RG3 out and that team too be a young guy for the face. The other part of it is I think it's a bust also just because of some fact now he's going to have to play. He hasn't played over 2 years. He's going to a very tough division with the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Bengals, teams that like to hit hard, that like to get at it. And on top of that, the Browns haven't had a really good offensive line in a while. I mean, when Johnny Manziel was there against those teams, he struggled very well. So I think it's a good move, but also has its bust factors.
All right, so I stopped to think about it, and at first I was excited. I was like, RG3 getting a second chance, you know. And then I just started thinking, well, you had a chance to go to Denver. And Denver would have took that kind of money because Denver offered Brock Osweiler $40 million.
Yep.
He left it on the table. So they obviously had money to spend. And, and if 22 was going to be your highest offer, I mean, they could have ate that contract in a million years, and you would have had better receivers, better offensive line, and you would have had a team that can control defensively a game. So even if you struggled with being off the field for 2 years, you could still win ball games. Let me tell you,
it's been a lot easier.
Yeah, in Cleveland, if you struggle offensively, you're not winning ball games. They got rid of Travis Benjamin. I mean, probably your most explosive. I mean, all of Johnny Manziel's big long throws went to that guy.
Yeah.
You lost your best, receiver. You don't know if Gordon's coming back. I mean, that's still up in the air. I mean, if he does come back, kudos. But I mean, once again, another guy that sat out a season. How much impact is he going to make right away? Mm-hmm. Without getting adjusted to the system.
Yeah.
I do like Hugh Jackson. I give him that. If there's anything that's going for you, is going to be Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson is also a running kind of coach too. So I think he's going to conserve RG3 with running the ball at least 25 times a game.
Yeah, that'll save him.
That's going to save him. But at the end of the day, you took a pay cut. You went to a team that's right now just not where it needs to be. You're in a tough division with teams that are willing to hit you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't like it. I think Kaepernick would have been a better fit, because he's not so injury prone. He's definitely a lot stronger legs. As long as RG3 wants to stay in that pocket, he will be okay. 1-2, get it out. 1-2, get it out. But if you're trying to run or you're even keeping that ball for 4 seconds, you know what? You're RG done. and that's just it. I mean, I don't like it one bit. So we're gonna go on. Speaking of the same division, we're gonna go on to the Bengals. Right now, the Bengals have not committed to Marvin Lewis past 2016. Is that a concern for Marvin Lewis?
It's a concern because, in fact, I don't even know how this man still has a job this year. He's really lucky that they brought him back because I thought after you get that home playoff game, it's against the Steelers. You've already beat the Steelers twice. How do you lose this game? He's really lucky he got a job, man. And I mean, as a Raven guy, I'd much be happy if he got out. But I mean, I think he's got to make it happen this year. They have to get past the second round for him to at least get another shot. If they don't even get past the first round again, he's got to go. He has got to go.
I think if he even gets to the conference, finals, I mean, our divisional finals, I mean, I don't even think his job is secure at that point. I think they've given him so many years, so many first round exits. I mean, they're just going to finally come to the conclusion that, hey, you're a good coach, Marvin Lewis, but you're not for us. You're not running the system that's winning consistently enough. And what keeps bailing them out each year is either Andy Dalton gets hurt or, Julio Jones gets hurt or somebody gets hurt to where he could point the finger and be like, well, that's the reason why we didn't make it past the first round. Or that's the reason Andy Dalton, came back and, the red rifle, we didn't have enough bullets for him. Or there's always something that he pinpoints the finger. I think this is the year where we pinpoint the finger back at Marvin Lewis and be like, hey, buddy, your system sucks.
Yeah, I mean, they got to draft well because they already lost Mohamed Sanu. They lost Marvin Jones. It's A.J. Green, and that's it as their wide receiving core. I don't know what they're going to do if they don't draft good enough wide receivers to at least help that system out either. It's make or break here for Marvin Jones.
I think it's already broken. I'm not even going to say make or break. I think his seat is so hot it's burning his cheeks. I mean, it's got to be. If it's not, I'd be surprised.
It's fire.
So go on to the Titans. Right now, the Titans are looking to possibly make a trade for Marcus to go to San Francisco if San Francisco is willing to give up enough draft picks and enough piece. I mean, does Chip Kelly pull a trigger? I mean, is this something that's realistic or what's going on here?
I kind of think it's unrealistic, but it could be a for real deal because I know there was the rumor about what he was trying to do when he was with the Eagles. They were trying to trade all that. So maybe he's trying to do it again in Frisco. I mean, obviously it's an Oregon Duck guy. He's obviously probably trying to get his guy. I think if they really were to pull the trigger to try to get Marcus Mariota, it's definitely going to benefit San Francisco. But, I mean, I think it's maybe unrealistic. But, hey, anything's possible. We're still close to that draft, so maybe it's a thing.
Yeah, I think this is straight up BS. if he wanted to pull the trigger, he would have did it in Philadelphia, where they had a lot better pieces to make that trade.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is I could have even saw a three-way trade, which is not common in the NFL. I mean, I could have saw Marcus going to San Diego for Phillip Rivers, and then San Diego making a trade, vice versa that way. As far as, San Francisco has an interesting trade piece, and that's Kaepernick. If you're willing to give up Kaepernick for Marcus, and maybe some draft picks, I could see it happening. But then I look at the draft and I see there's a Vernon Davis, another Oregon quarterback that you can get in the draft. He's gonna fall to about the third, fourth round. So I mean, do you take your chances with Marcus coming off of an injury, or do you take another injury-prone Vernon Davis? I mean, you can get an Oregon quarterback regardless that knows your system. And then you still have Blaine Gabbert, which we keep disrespecting the man, but the man balled out last year.
I think Blaine Gabbert's the better choice out of all of the situations because he knows what's going on. Obviously, Marcus Mariota be the best one for Chip's system, but I mean, for what they got right now, Marcus is hurt, coming back off the injury, not sure how he's going to do. I think Blaine Gabbert definitely should be San Francisco's option, but hey, we're getting around that draft time. Anything could happen now.
And if you're Tennessee at this point, too, you got another number 1 draft pick that you could pick up a high-powered player, most of the time defensive player of some sort, or you can even go offense and you build that lineup a little bit better.
Hey, that guy from Ole Miss is right there.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you got DeMarco Murray that with a strong line, you don't have to throw the ball as much now. You can give it to the workhorse to run your offense and do your little dinky dunk donut passes. And run your offense that way. I mean, there's more options. I think Tennessee's in the right direction. And if you made this trade and get Kaepernick, you're going backwards because I mean Kaepernick and Marcus can both run.
Yeah.
But Marcus can actually throw the ball too.
And he's a lot younger.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to go to the last topic of the day. I'm going to talk about the NFL rules that might change. For all our views out there, it has not changed yet, so don't jump out of your shoes. But if you get 2 non-sportsmanlike conduct penalties in a game, you get ejected. So it's almost like the equivalent to 2 technical fouls in the NBA equals an ejection. Is that something that's even realistic? I mean, a lot of people are not happy about this.
I think it's watering down the game. I think the game's starting to get really two-hand touches. If this actually becomes true, if this is actually something that's going to happen. I mean, the NFL's already got all these different rules in place. No helmet-to-helmet contact, all these different things, the PI calls. And now we're talking about basically, like you said, a 2 technical foul type situation, 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, and your best player could be out of the game. Whether that's your DN, your safety, your middle linebacker, it don't matter. It could even be offensive linemen. Sometimes offensive linemen do some like grabbing the face mask stuff. I think it's just really watering down the game, and it's kind of sad, man. It's really sad.
It is sad. It's something I don't think is going to go through. It's not going to fly. It's a contact sport. Accidents happen. Momentum happens. There's too many times where, the running back's running. You're coming from the side. You're trying to wrap your arms around him. You happen to get your hand caught in his face mask. Boom, there's a call. Or you're going after the quarterback. He throws the ball, but because you're falling forward and you touch him, boom. I mean, it's just not realistic. Or, so I don't like that. I don't even think that should be a suggestion. I think if you are going to do something like that, you should definitely specify what qualifies. Because not everything should qualify for unsportsmanlike conduct to be ejected. If you want to say, hey, a super late hit can be reviewed in a game, and then you slap on that one tag, like, hey, unsportsmanlike conduct, to the second degree, or I don't know, make up a new saying, like, then you want to do that, I completely understand. But
on top of that, they even got the thing now where they're throwing flags for guys jumping in the pile to try to get that fumble, or they're trying to get guys off the fumble.
And the dog pile's legendary.
And then they can sit there and throw a flag for that. So, like, what if your guy, gets a face mask and then he accidentally jumps into that too much and there's unsportsmanlike? So, it's a bad thing that if it passes, we could be seeing some of the best players in the game getting kicked out the game in the first half.
Yeah.
Because, these penalties and these flags come super early, or they could even come late. I mean, game-winning situation, you just lost Von Miller because he accidentally raked the guy's face mask on, just trying to get off him, and boom, now you're down your sack leader. It's a bad situation. I don't like it. I think the game's getting super duper watered down.
It is, and hopefully they don't pass it. I don't think they will, but you never know. I mean, Roger Goodell, whatever, I don't know what tea he be sipping on sometimes, but it's very sugared and watered down. I'm not feeling it. But I mean, so on that note, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to the coffee hour. And just stay tuned for next week. We're gonna get a little more into the draft, and we're gonna talk about top 5 players in each position, and we're gonna dictate and do our own little mock draft. And see where we think goes and what team needs what areas. If you guys have any opinions or comments, please leave them below. Like, subscribe, do all that internet stuff you guys do nowadays. And thank you guys for tuning in.